All right, welcome back. This will be Coping Mechanisms, episode 9, with Rosie Gagnon. So, I've been a bit back and forth on whether or not I want to keep doing these intros, but I think in the beginning it's important to give context to why I'm choosing the people to have on that I am. And Rosie exemplifies this in an amazing way. The whole show is basically about how we choose to deal with things in life and how we find success through our struggles. Rosie is a woman who was not an endurance athlete or anything like that before, who has taken it upon herself to run 100 marathons to honor her son, Dexter, who took his life, who was a Marine, and also to raise awareness for men's mental health and veterans' suicide awareness. So she's absolutely an amazing woman. I'm incredibly honored to be able to share her story in any way and hopefully get some more eyes to what it is that she's doing. When Cameron and I heard about this from Tyler Schuster, who was on episode 7, I believe, we immediately drove out to the Outer Banks to shoot a documentary, which hopefully will be out soon on this page as well, to film this podcast that you're about to see. And also, we ended up being her crew for the race. We spent about 32 hours on the side of the road throughout the Outer Banks to support her along this. I believe it was well over 24 hours. I'm not exactly sure how long it took, but it was a wild ride, and none of us slept much. But that was nothing compared to her, who was running the entire time. She did not stop. And that was her 90th at the time. I believe right now she is on 95. At the time, it was her third back to back to back, 3 weekends in a row through March. And yeah, I'm really happy to be able to support her. Please go support Rosie Gagnon in any way that you can. Please support the causes that she speaks to in this. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for every bit of feedback that we've gotten so far. It really means a lot and helps us get this out to the world. So, with that being said, this is Coping Mechanisms, episode 9, with Rosie Gagnon.
All right, so Rosie Gagnon, welcome to Coping Mechanisms podcast. And we're here to just kind of talk about how we deal with life. And I really think that your story exemplifies that in a way that few people really can understand. But through seeing your story and through the documentary that Cam's going to be shooting, like, we really hope to be able to just kind of elucidate not only the message that you've come to bear to the world, which is incredible in and of itself, but also just like the testament of, like, you know, who it is that you've decided to become through your struggles and through the things that you've been through. I mean, the thing that you're doing, 100 mile races, is amazing. It's truly amazing. So just welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks. I'm so excited to be
here. And thank you to Tyler for, lending us this house for the weekend. It's really, really cool. So how you doing? How are you feeling today? It's pre-race day. We'll start in a few hours, 12 hours, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Less than that.
Less.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Pretty good. You know, every start line, there's always jitters because you know it's coming. You know it's going to be hard. So, but then once you get there, it kind of calms down, adrenaline kicks in, and you love it for a while.
Yeah. So this is your 90th.
Number 90, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. I guess we should tell people where we are. So we're in the Outer Banks. Yeah. We're here for Blackbeard's Revenge. And this is a unique race, sort of, right?
Yeah, it is. It's a point-to-point, all road, which is actually really painful. So beach sand, sun, blowing wind, crazy. Sometimes you can have crazy weather, hurricane force winds. We've had insane lightning storms where they've had to shut down the course. But
really,
yeah, it doesn't look like it'll be anything too exciting this year. That as far as that goes.
Wow. So you're weathered through this. How many times have you run this?
I think 6.
Wow.
So.
Wow. Okay. Were those other 6 a part of the 100 goal too?
Oh yeah.
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 Okay. Did you run 100-mile marathons
No,
through your life? Have you grown up a runner?
No. I was actually a chubby teenager, and I used to hide in the bathroom during gym, and stand on the toilet and close the door so that I didn't have to see your feet. So nobody could see my feet, so that I didn't have to do the mile in gym. Wow. And so it's pretty funny to be an ultra runner, but no, I mean I was a casual runner, just to stay in shape. But my son got sick and then passed away. I started running 100 milers.
Okay.
So.
Wow. So the 100 miles was in response to that?
Yeah, I was training my first marathon the first time he was hospitalized for suicide ideation. This is my son Dexter. was a Marine. When he was in the Marine Corps, he was injured and got medicated on opioids, and it triggered an onset of a serious mental illness. So he was discharged, and all he ever wanted to do was be a Marine. So he was permanently 100% disabled, and he just, took his life. So the first time he was hospitalized for suicide ideation, I was training for my first marathon, and I had heard that there were 100-mile races, and so we were talking about it, and he's like, well, you could do that, Mom. And so he's like, sign up, you should do it. And so I signed up for my first one, and then I was training for the first one when he passed away.
Wow.
So
how did that like come up, this idea of 100-milers? Like he just kind of tossed it out and you were like, fuck yeah?
Well, I had a friend who talked me into training for my first marathon, and then she on Facebook posted an update of someone who was running, who was in the middle of a 100-miler, and I was like, "What? That can't even be possible," you know?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't sound.
Response. No.
I
and then
struggle
you're like,
to wrap
"How
my
long
head
does
around
that take them?
so
Like
much.
a week?" And they're like, "No, they just go straight through the night." And
they
I
just
just
don't
thought,
stop.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I could never do that. Maybe I could do a 50-miler, but no way could I ever do a 100-miler." But then my son Dexter was like, "No, you should try it. That'd be cool. You know, I bet you could do it." And
this was like when he was hospitalized that you guys were talking about this? Mm-hmm. So is this like kind of like bridge of like a hopeful sort of look?
Yeah, kind of.
That you like then carried through?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like decision like for you to like be like, I'm gonna, like, how did you get, I mean, you're not just running a 100, you're running 100 100s. Can you like just bring us to like, I guess, what that process was like for you? Because again, this whole thing is, for me, I'm really fascinated by amazing people that are there. I mean, it's the things that, how we choose to respond to the circumstances,
right. Mm-hmm.
how we choose to cope. And I think that people often can write people off as just being, oh, you're just amazing, you're just lucky, you're just gifted.
No.
And I find so often, as it's been even with myself, with anything interesting that I've ever done, it's always been in response to a challenge.
Right.
It's like, who are you going to be through this thing, not get around it, but go like right through the thing. And who do you want to be?
Right.
So can you bring us through like that process of like what made you want to do this?
To be honest, like it was keeping me alive. I found my son after he'd shot himself, and that's just like trauma no mother should ever have to live through. And like it was very difficult. Every day was just torture. And but I was training, and so I was in the habit of waking up and putting on my shoes every day, and like that literally was the only reason I got out of bed. It was because I had the habit of running, was to get up, put my shoes on. And I found when I was just out running that it was the only thing that just helped cleanse me of all that just pain. And
wow.
And I mean, it was pretty catastrophic. And so I literally felt like I was running for my life.
Wow.
I mean, I would just go from, I would run for hours. Well, I was training for my first 100-miler, and I would do like 120 miles a week. Wow. Just get up and run for 4 or 5 hours a day, because it was all I could do to just like get through the day. And then after I'd, exhausted myself completely, then I could go home and fix a meal for my kids, or go feed the animals, and just go through like a daily routine.
You have other kids?
So I do, yeah. I had 4 living at home when he passed away. So I was trying to survive that, but then also still having to be a mother, and that was tough.
Yeah. I mean, that's a wild will, just like a testament to the will of like a mother, because it's like, you don't, to a certain extent, you almost like don't have time to process your stuff. So the running almost becomes the place where you go to worship almost, right?
It was 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would talk to my son. I'd talk to God. I'd scream, cry, run, feel good. And sometimes I'd feel good. Like sometimes I would feel like he was out there with me, and so I'd go and seek that. I found that too with 100-milers, like especially if I get up in the mountains. You're kind of in extreme. There's something that's called like the third man syndrome, and it's something that people who are in extreme situations or in extreme sports, when they're out and sort of life and death is on the line, like they have experiences where there's someone else there that they can't see, you know what I mean? And it's a real, it's like a real phenomenon. And, you know, if you're religious or not or whatever, you can just say it's your brain or whatever. But I feel like, you know, when I'm out in these extreme circumstances that like my son's out there with me and helping me out and stuff. So, so it's kind of a place we go to, you know, I'm still building like a relationship with him. We're having experiences together, even though he's passed away. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. I mean, pushing yourself to that level gives you access to this deeper version of yourself, because like a lot of what we experience when we grieve and we, you know, I mean, just living and of course going through the process of death or experiencing death, it's kind of this like this surface layer of who we've developed this kind of like personality around. So it's not only just this devastating thing that you experience, it's also like the crippling of your identity, especially as a mother.
Absolutely.
It's this wild thing, but you bring yourself through running, through extreme fatigue to this deeper place, to this deeper person where you get to like really figure out who you really are.
It's true. Well, because something like that, I mean, it really just shatters who you are. You're never the same person after that. And so you're almost like, you know, scraping together everything that's left that's on the ground and trying to kind of create a new person. And the running and the extreme endurance sports, I don't know, it's almost, it reminds me of like a Native American spirit quest, sort of like it's kind of transcendent, you know, you have these transcendent experiences out there where it's just you and your soul, you know, trying to find the strength to get through it.
It's you and whatever the truth of life really is, where you're pushing yourself to the brink of death, where you're like, you want to give up. And it's like the bare, like all of the logs have gone away. It's just the ember.
Right.
Can you start a fire?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that like something that you figured out right away, like right after Dexter's passing, where you went and ran and you were like, okay, this is something that I need to keep doing? Or was it just like kind of instinctual, where you just like kind of felt a little bit better and you're like, huh?
It was a little of both. It was kind of like the first one I attempted, I failed miserably, and I was so sick. I was telling you guys about that in the car, that literally I couldn't take another step at 60 miles. I was done. I could not force myself to go another step. And it kind of hit me that, you know, that was sort of what it was like for somebody who takes their life, is that mentally, you know, they just can't like wrap their head around another day. It's just too painful. They just can't go on. And so it helped me sort of understand, like, you know, not completely, but at least have a place in my mind that I could understand like where he got to, you know, and
like
then
a place of compassion.
But then finding out that no, you really can keep going, you know, that and that's what I loved about it. Like the first one I finished, I mean, when I got to the finish line, you know, I thought I would never ever feel happy again. This was, he passed away in February, and I finished the first one in June, the first week of June that year, and you know, I thought I will never ever be happy again. And when I finished the 100-miler, like I felt joy. I was like, oh my gosh, we did it. We made it through it. And I finished this for him. I wanted to do it in his honor. And so it was just really symbolic to me, kind of like of life, of, you know, how you go through these just dark times and you want to quit and everything's screaming and telling you to quit and it's too hard and all these excuses, but you know, if you just keep one foot in front of the other, you know, eventually the morning's going to come and you're going to find light, you'll find joy. And so like the whole symbol of like the process of getting through 100-miler to me was just like the process of surviving a suicide or surviving depression or grief or whatever struggle. So to me, it was perfect. I mean, it helped me heal and get through it. And so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that is the truth of life, right? What's that poem? It's like rage against the dying of the light.
Man.
That's life.
That's good.
It's the antithesis of the darkness.
Right.
This whole thing, I'm not going to go off into this whole tangent, but just to kind of like draw a parallel, not that I even could come close to understanding what it is to lose a child, but this whole thing, Cope, and like why I became a health coach and a life coach was because my friend Jack took his life, and my friend Jonah found him. And it was this thing where I had talked to him like shortly before he did, and he was, a lot of kids in my generation got really into Xanax, which is just terrible because you really lose yourself. And, you know, one day I'm not going to speak to, I guess, like what he was experiencing, but he died. And it was this really weird, like, gut punch moment for me because he was such a talented kid. He was like very handsome, like girls loved him. He was a great skater, a great surfer. He had such a bright future. And just to see how quickly somebody can get lost. And it was this reckoning for me, him being so young, it was like, you have to ask yourself, what are you going to do? Right. What are you going to do with this feeling that you feel? Because it's this punch in the stomach. Like, you're like, you want to give up. You don't know what to do. You want to fight. You want to fight something. You don't know what you're fighting. And what I came to is that, like, it's my responsibility to live for those who aren't here anymore.
Right.
And it's like, actually, like, you know, what the fuck are you going to do with this? I'm going to live and I'm going to help other people who might be suffering. I'm going to go light their fire. I'm going to give fuel to their fire. I'm going to lift them up. I'm going to give them a space to know that just that they're not fucking alone. Right. Because these are things that we all experience at a time. Yeah. Like, these are all things that we've all thought of, you know, and nobody wants to talk about it ever. It's like, have you ever thought about suicide? Then you get checked, a box gets checked and you get medicated. But it's like, who hasn't thought about it? Right. Right. Like, really, like, what is life but that consideration of your mortality?
That's one thing that's really hard about suicide is that it seems unthinkable until someone you love dies by suicide, and all of a sudden you realize, you know, that was an option. And then when you're hit with that, you know, pain or whatever that's really hard to go through, you know, it just comes to you like unbidden, you know, like you would never normally think that, but then all of a sudden you realize, wow, how easy would it be to just call it a day, you know? Yeah. It's terrible. It really is. It's a terrible disease.
It's harder to not. Yeah. Almost. Like, it is that active choice to continue to fight. Yep. I have this weird thing with, like, my family where most of the men on my mother's side killed themselves. And my grandpa, even, he was one of those three brothers. He told me he was going to kill himself 2 weeks before he died. He got murdered.
Oh my God.
Randomly. I guess randomly. I don't know. He had a weird past, but it's been this weird thing. And that's really why I'm interested to talk to you, or so just fascinated by your story, and why I admire you so much, because, like, this has been a journey that I really relate to, of like seeing this path and seeing like how easy it could be, and feeling the desperation and the depression and the darkness being exposed to it. You're like, well, why not me too? Right. But to choose to be like, no, rage against the dying of the light.
I love that. Yeah. That was fantastic.
It's beautiful.
It really is.
I mean, just thank you. I mean, we just got into this, but like, thank you for what you're doing, because it really does echo out. Like, every day that you continue to walk, it means something to those people who also thought about it. Right. You know? So I think you carry that legacy, like, very beautifully. Thank you. As a mother and as a runner and as a human.
I appreciate it. Because, you know, I'm not like the kind of person you would think, I'm suicidal, I'm going to go. But there are days when I think, you know, where it comes to me and I think, oh, how easy would it be, you know? And not that I would, but it's still, you know.
It comes across. Life is fucking hard, and everybody wants to act like it's not.
I know.
I'm the like life and health coach guy, and everybody wants to act like I'm all motivated and happy. I deal with crippling depression often. And it's just life. I mean, like, we live in a crazy time. Life is wild. A lot of these systems that are in place to quote unquote help us, and the systems that we live in and depend on, aren't really in alignment with how we've lived for thousands of years. So it's like, we're in this weird world. And that's why it's again called cope, because it's like, no, this is the fucking situation. Maybe it is fucked. What are we going to do?
Right, exactly.
What are we going to let's maybe take care of ourselves. Let's move. That's why I partnered with the Sweat a Little Bit boys, because like, I just love what they're about. They're like, empty the tank, go out there, do something.
Right.
Help yourself. Feel that it'll feel better.
Help yourself, help other people. I think that's a big thing.
Being of service. Yeah. Making it bigger than you.
Trying to exactly.
Right. And that's a big part of like this thing that you're doing is it's not just like your personal journey, but you're actively trying to raise awareness for this cause, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you speak to that? Like, what is that message that you want to get out there, I guess? Like, why 100-100s? It's so bold. I love it.
Honestly, I didn't know how I could live for 40 years. You know, like, it was so hard. Every day was so hard, and I thought, I don't. How am I going to survive? How can I carry this pain for that many years? You know, that was just too big. I couldn't swallow it. So I thought, if I make this crazy goal of 100-100s, you know, it's something I can work towards. It's something I can focus on. I can get to the next race. I can get through the next training cycle. And so really, it was like a lifeline to keep me alive for a lifetime.
Wow.
Is that crazy? And then it developed into, I got, about the time I decided to do that, it was probably my 6th or 7th race when I switched from, I was actually at a race and I wasn't going to make it. And I had some people come out just unexpectedly and help me to the finish. And like, it meant so much to me. And I remember feeling my son, and like, I felt like he sent me a message that was like, you know, you've run enough for me. Let's see if we can help somebody else. Wow. And so it was right at that time I got connected to Wear Blue, Run to Remember, and 22
that's
Too
the shirt,
Many.
Right?
Yeah, that's the shirt. And 22 Too Many is veterans, specifically for veterans who die by suicide. So I just reached out to those organizations and started trying to support other families who lost someone to suicide. Just, you know, I don't even know, like, I'm not like a mental health specialist. I don't know what to do to help people to, you know, not to make a difference. But I felt like just talking about it, helping to break the stigma, helping people know that it's okay to talk about depression and suicide, and that, you know, when you bring it out of the dark and you talk about it, it makes it easier. You know, it's like a burden that you can share with someone else, and then you both can get through it a little better. And also, like, just the awareness of, like, there's a lot of stigma against people who die by suicide. You know, they're selfish, or they, you know, they're, I don't know, they're sinners, or, you know, I mean, I could think of a whole bunch of them. And truthfully, it's just an illness. You know, it's like the final symptom of a terrible illness. And so you shouldn't treat them any different than if, like, they had died of cancer or heart disease or something like that. You know what I mean? And so I was really passionate about that to especially, like, in the military, it's really hard because, you know, these people have served, and they have, you know, say they're killed in action, and they're honored because of their service. And then you have veterans who come home who have, you know, wounds of war, and then they take their life, and as a family, you're like, are they still worthy of honor? You know, because they didn't die in a battlefield. They, you know,
but it came
from that. Yeah, exactly.
Like,
they had a drug addiction and depression, and maybe they got arrested, and then they, you know, and then they took their life. But it was a spiral that came from the difficulty of their military service, you know? And so absolutely they are. And so I wanted to be able to talk to people about that and let them know that, gosh, absolutely you should honor them, because they signed their name to, you know, give their life for the country. And ultimately they did. It just came, you know, from an internal enemy instead of, you know, external. So yeah, like I was not somebody who could, you know, go and petition Congress or, you know, start a foundation or anything like that, but I could put on my shoes and run and talk about it. And so that's just what I started doing. And I guess if you run enough miles, eventually people pay attention. So
yeah, we were like, what the fuck? When Tyler told us, was like, what do you mean 100? She's like, 100 miles. It's like, what are you talking about? And even now, everybody that I've told about this, they're like, that's not possible.
But doesn't it make sense? Like, if you can run 100 miler, why can't you run 100, right? Like, it's the same distance.
My, like, little, like, human self goes, no, dude, it doesn't make any fucking sense. The soul part of me is like, hell yeah, we can do anything. Yeah, the heart we are unvanquished. We will not be conquered.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, which is amazing.
That's funny.
Yeah. Well, this is beautiful. I mean, I think that if we have anything to do with it, like, we really just want to help you get your message out there to the world, because it is so important, and it is such a fucking pressing issue that doesn't get not only the attention but the care that it deserves, because it is it's a fucking epidemic that we're in.
It really
not only
is.
Just veterans, and like people think that it's just a veteran thing. People think that it's just a mentally ill thing. Then they go, oh, maybe it's just a veteran thing. Oh, maybe it's just a whatever. No, a male in America, I believe, kills himself every 13 minutes and 11 minutes in the UK. Like, something's up.
It is.
Something is out of alignment with our life, and we have to start paying attention to these things. And that's why I care so much about getting these messages out, because, I mean, as I said, for Jack, like, hopefully through these conversations, like, we can shift people's understanding to, like, no, this fucking matters, and we need to do something about it.
Yep.
Because these things don't have to, they need it to happen in the moment. They don't have to continue.
Right.
We don't need to continue the trend.
That's right.
What can we learn? Can we take the pain that other people have gone through and alchemize it into something that means something,
Right.
so that another mother doesn't have to do that and go through that? And I just love that about your message so much, because it is that, like, it does come from this motherly space of, like, you would do anything for your boy.
It's true.
Yeah. And I mean, you're fucking doing it. You're doing the impossible.
I'm trying.
You are.
Yeah.
90.
I'm proud of him.
I thought you were on like 20. And Tyler was like, this is her 90th. And I was like, dude, what the fuck?
I'm going to keep going too. I said, okay, next will be 200.
Let's
Once I
go.
hit 100, we'll keep going. I'll go till a drop probably.
Yeah.
But, and you know, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know how it has to change. I don't know. I mean, our healthcare system's a disaster. The mental health care system is a disaster. If you're having a crisis, the only thing you can do, like, immediately is go to the emergency room and hope that you know what I mean?
And
like,
they're going to drug you.
Yeah, they're going to drug you.
And sedate you. And
then,
they're not going to deal with your issues
that's
properly.
right,
And a lot of the therapists don't really care to be therapists. I'm in this, like, weird... This is going to get me canceled on YouTube. Proxy war with therapists almost, where, like, the reason that I got into all this stuff in the first place was just to help myself, because I was one of these kids that was falling through the cracks, and I would go to all these therapists. None of them would fucking help me. None of them would. They just, like, when I was 16, they were like, no, you're just fucked up. You're just, you have an absence of antidepressants. Isn't that crazy? You're just born with the biological absence of these drugs that we make a lot of money off of. So we're just going to give you these drugs. So at 16, I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety, ADHD medication, and anti-nausea, because it all made me super fucking sick. And, like, I did that for like 2 years, but I was homeschooled when I was younger, so I had this kind of arrogance about me. I was like, I don't fucking believe this guy. Like, how's an overweight guy telling me that I'm somehow not well? Like, something's off.
Right.
Eventually, I, like, flushed the pills, which I don't advise to anybody, but started just, like, doing the research and then uncovering, like, how fucked up our systems actually are, and how it's all kind of this big, you know, pharmaceutical industrial complex that's captured by the insurance agencies, and they all kind of run the system, and how doctors aren't meant to keep you healthy. It really, I mean, when you look at the statistics about, like, human beings, like, we're living longer, but really we're dying slower. We're just prolonging death. And, you know, you're in critical care or whatever for a long time, and you're on all these drugs for a long time, and you just need these 5 medications that are the average fucking prescription dosage or whatever for every other American. And it's all about averages and statistics and keeping the population. And we've gone so lost. And I think that's what's so cool about what it is that you're doing too, because it is a physical challenge.
Oh yeah. Nutrition and physical activity, getting out, you know, into nature is huge. I think I think there's just a lot of...
Just getting back to our roots.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we did used to fucking run.
Well, I know.
And traverse by foot like that, right?
I know, right?
Yeah.
And, like, all the processed food. I mean, I wonder how much the processed food, and then all the, like, the electronics, the social media.
Yeah.
I think all that's just whacking up the brains. I can't understand.
It's absolutely
what else could be causing it, because it is such a huge problem, and it seems like it is men, like, have it so much worse, like, and I don't know why, but it's
men can't talk about it, so we bury it, so it'll explode quicker, because the pressure will build up faster. Women will actually often struggle worse than men, but they have outlets, and they're also, like, kind of predisposed to being it's more socially acceptable for them to have some sort of a mental and emotional struggle. But for men, we're not allowed to talk about it. Buck up, suck it up, sack up. Where's your balls? Don't be gay. Like, all of these things, you know, they're kind of trite and childish when we talk about them, but, you know, you're told these things in middle school. I mean, I remember my friend's dad died, and he'd been my friend for like 6-7 years. He's like early childhood friend. I was probably like 13, 14 when he died. That was the first time I'd ever hugged him. And, like, you just realize, like, how kind of disconnected we are from each other, and from just the reality of being a human being. No person is supposed to carry these burdens. And no person is supposed to go to somebody who's supposed to help them, be given a drug to numb them. Like, why have we chosen that route? So I hope and I pray that we're at this turning point. I mean, you can see how politically it's it's a shit show, but there are good things coming through in that people are starting to talk about health and starting to talk about processed foods. And I mean, even just you doing things like you were doing this run and people running more. And like, I mean, hopefully this inspires somebody else to like go pick up your fucking jogging shoes that have been in the back of your closet.
Right.
Go run a little bit, see if it helps you, especially if you're struggling.
Right.
Like if you can find joy or peace, any sort of resolve in this physical challenge, I'm pretty sure the generic person in America can pick up their shoes and go find a little bit of peace.
Exactly. No, it's true. And I tried to see therapists and, grief therapists or counselors or whatever. And it did me no good. They tried, and I was on an antidepressant for a while. And it's like, it took, and it didn't help. It made me feel worse. I was number, and it was like, I'm not unhealthy. Grief is not unhealthy.
You need to feel.
It's not a sickness. Yeah.
You have to.
Right.
Grief is proof of love.
Right. Yeah, and it was being treated like it was an illness, and
so you're denying the love.
Yeah. So
you can't. Yeah. It just doesn't, like, from a logical perspective. Why the fuck would that work? I get it to a certain extent too, and I try to be balanced and not just go to war against the system.
Right, because I think that there are
cases,
its place for sure.
Yes, but like the whole serotonin model that like we have serotonin dysregulations and we need SSRIs is like, maybe.
Right.
But like if your doctor never asks you about how you're sleeping and what you're eating, you have a fucking drug dealer.
Right.
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 Yeah. So
I like that.
That's a thing.
Very true.
So I want to ask you about some technical aspects of this race. Just like, obviously we talked about kind of the goal and just like the enormity of the project, but can you tell people just like when you're going to be running, what this is going to be? You're going to go through the night. What does this process look like for you? How do you stay, you're going straight.
This particular race, right. Start early before sunrise. So you get a couple hours where it's nice and cool and you feel good, fresh legs. Well, sort of fresh.
Yeah. You just did another one, right?
Yeah,
you
this is my third in March. Yeah, I knocked out 3 in a row. So I'm not, normally I feel fresh for about 10, 15 miles. It's great. It feels great. But so it may not feel great but the moon will be out, stars, and it's just nice. It's a good way to start the day, and you just think, God, there's nothing I'd rather be doing today than out doing this. And then when the sun's up and it's been just glaring for a couple hours and the wind is relentless and sand's blowing in your eyes and you get sunglasses on, and then you start to get dehydrated, and so you got to make sure that you're getting calories in, but a lot of electrolytes.
Is that is that like kind of the crux, like this middle portion where it's like the middle of the day when it's hot?
Oh yeah. Yeah, from probably 9 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. It's just like you got to stay on top of salt and a liquid, like a ton of liquid, more than I drink. I always end up dehydrated, and usually if you're dehydrated, you end up throwing up in the middle of the night. So that's not much fun. Yeah,
and then you get more dehydrated, right?
So yeah. Sometimes though, once it cools off, then if you keep drinking really well, then you can catch up, and so you kind of feel better. But so you run all day through town, through past all the beach houses, and get out past Nag's Head, and then the houses kind of disappear, and then it's swamps and sand dunes in the wilderness, and it's dark, and it's fantastic under the stars, because the stars out there are
light pollution, right?
Light pollution. Yeah, it's almost dark sky. I would think it's probably not technically dark sky, but it feels like
it feels like you're in space out there at night.
It really does.
Sure,
yeah, and then you're just way off in the distance, like 30 miles away. You can see the light of the lighthouse spinning, and so that's kind of
that's the goal.
It is the goal, but it messes you up because you're like, man, I can see it, and then you just never get
see it for
any
hours.
closer. Yeah. It's kind of like despair, like, oh my gosh, I've been going for 3-5 hours and I don't feel like I'm any closer. So it gets a little bit spooky, because the runners will really spread out, so you'll be all alone along the road, and the race directors and volunteers are pretty good. Sometimes they'll drive by and check on you, make sure you're okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're only awake. You don't really sleep. Sometimes if you're really tired, you might lay down by the side of the road or at an aid station and take like a 5-minute nap or something. But you're generally up just all night long. And so the combination of just the fatigue, physical fatigue, and and sleep deprivation. Sometimes you'll hallucinate and act weird and stumble around, and it's kind of almost like you're intoxicated.
It's a psychedelic journey.
Yeah, right? It is. It sort of is. Yeah, you don't need to. Yeah, I've seen some weird stuff. Like I swear I saw a ghost ship out there one year.
I heard about that. Tyler
that
mentioned
was
that.
Cool. And so we were wondering if that might have actually been real. It could have been real.
Well, this is like the graveyard of the East Coast.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
so it might
There's
have
a
been
lot
real.
of ships out there.
Yeah, it might be. So so sometimes you see some trippy stuff, but usually I just crank on some good music and drink caffeine and try and just sing and keep going. And just push through the night. And
one of your race buddies told, like, we reached out and we're like, what's Rosie like? Can you just give us any information? He's like, she's a bundle of joy. It's never slugging on. It's good vibes and high spirits. Like, she's dancing her way across.
Oh my gosh.
Always. And I was like, that was the only thing he said. He's like, she is stoked. And that's such a testament to you.
That's
when
funny.
we met you, and I was like kind of thinking that you'd be a bit tense the day before the race, and you're like, oh, hey, who's your puppy? Like, you're just super stoked. And it's such a cool thing to see. Just, it speaks
I
so
do
much
have
to the human
like pits of despair and crying
they're
and,
there.
and whining. I whine a lot, but I do try and, at least, and especially like talking to other people. That's one thing I really enjoy about these events is there's not there's competition. You always want to do your best and, do better than somebody. I guess, if somebody's up ahead of you, you're like, I'm going to pass them. But everyone's very encouraging. Like, you want to see everybody finish. And so it's nice to just talk to people and encourage
deep respect
everyone.
in the other people.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, you cheer for the person who comes in dead last as much as the person who was first, because we all did the same miles.
Yeah.
We all did the same distance. So
it's very different than other races. Oh, yeah. It's truly just a test of endurance.
It is. And it's kind of like when you finish one, it almost feels like you've lived a lifetime in a weekend. It takes you just to some extreme places in your core, Yeah. You really kind of get to know yourself out there. A lot of times, this race has a lot of people, but some of them are smaller, and you'll be out, sometimes I'm out in the mountains and I'll be 8 hours alone, just where you're just alone with yourself and, and struggling, and you really got to get to know, you have to really like who you are, I guess. Or at least tolerate who you are, because you face yourself. It's you and, whatever spiritual entities you might have with you, but otherwise, you don't always have a cheerleaders and pacers and
just you,
all that.
Who the fuck are you gonna be?
Exactly. What are you gonna do in this crisis?
And you've done 89.
89. Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around that number. I really can't. I can't. Like, me running a 5K, I would be so stoked on life. Like, wow.
Oh,
so what you plan to finish this year? Or soon?
I'm going to finish this year. Yeah. So there's something that's called the 100 Hundreds Club, and it's like the official books. There's not really books, but it's like one guy's list of people who have finished 100 Hundreds. And he qualifies it by, they're all sanctioned races. And I didn't know it existed when I started. So I've got quite a few solos where I just went out and did it by myself. So, so they don't count, for that. And so I'm like, well, I want to be on the list of official. So even though I'll hit 100 this year, I'm going to keep going because I need to.
The sanctioned races?
Yeah, I want the sanctioned races so that it's kind of goes
gold.
in the books
or
whatever.
You want your fucking name in that book.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You've earned it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll keep going, but I'm not like, I won't discount any that I ran. Especially because I didn't know it existed.
No,
I'm doing 100 miles.
Count.
Well, yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, they count.
And they were miles I did for my son, and that was why I started. And they're part of.
They might count more
of the journey. Well, that's what I think. I know.
I would say there's some certain props that should be dished out for doing it without any sanctioning of any sort.
Nobody cheering you on.
No fucking aid stations.
I know. I buy my own buckle, so I've got a little collection of buckles I bought for myself. Like,
wow.
This is, and I name them. Everyone I've done, I've named as a course. And but this year I bought a campground race course, and so I'm a race director now. So I actually put on a race every year on the day that Dexter passed away. I would go out and do a 100-miler, and I would call it something, and Warrior 100 is what I usually called it. And I would run it for him, and I always counted that, and I would buy a Marine Corps buckle. Wow. But this year, because I have like a sort of a race directing business now, I'm just going to turn it into a race. So I put on Ultra Sign Up, and I signed up, and I ran it. Wow. We had like 10 people show up and run it.
Fuck
yeah. I know. So now if I can't find a sanctioned race, I'll just make one up and throw it on Ultra Sign Up. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So. That's awesome.
So anyway, yeah.
Cool.
But, there's some places that you want to go that are cool as heck, and there's not a race there yet. So it's like, why not go do it?
Make your way.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
Dexter passed away February 2018, so 7 years.
Holy shit.
A little over
so
7
this
years.
is like who you are now. You've rebuilt yourself into this person from the ashes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's been a rough couple of years. Been through a lot. So
who do you feel that you are now? Like, what's changed?
It was this last year. I got divorced like a year ago, so that was sort of a crisis. And I kind of went through that. Like, I'm running, now I'm living. My kids are all grown. It's just me. Am I going to keep doing it? Now I got to go. I don't have anybody. It's just me. I got to show up and go
another
do it myself.
Death, sort of, huh? Yeah,
it really was. And so I've spent like the last year sort of rediscovering, this really is who I am, that I'm somebody who wants to be a part of the ultra running community and helping people achieve their goals and helping people who are struggling to find purpose and to chase their dreams and not be afraid of what people think. Just go for it, I like being that person. I want to be that person and maybe inspire people. 'Cause I'm just like a mom, I was a stay-at-home mom for years and not anybody special, but I feel like I just decided to do something, and now it's cool,
That's the most special.
It is, but
that means so much more. Like, if you're raised a freak athlete,
right,
it'd be a little watered down.
True.
This goes to show that fucking anybody can be phenomenal.
That is true. That it was just a decision, and now there's only 30 people in the world, 32 maybe now in the world who've done 100 milers.
So fun.
And now I'm like, dude, I'm there. I got it. It's just a matter of we'll be in the books. So and it was just a decision, And it's kind of funny in the beginning. People would be like, well, how many do you have to go? Well, I'm on number 11. And,
you're just not looking
people
back.
didn't believe me. Yeah. And I, in my head, I was like, just wait, I will do it. And now people don't question it. Of course you're going to finish it. So I feel good about that. I feel good that I decided to do it and stuck with it. And, I'm driving a broken down car and running on fumes, but we're still getting it done. But look how amazing, I live in a camper, and I'm working at a grocery store, pinching pennies, trying to get these races paid for and get it done. But I'm here this weekend in this incredible beach house and surrounded by people and fed good food and taken well care of. And so, it's amazing. I think when you're trying to do good things, the universe has your back,
For sure.
Gives you those moments where you're like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing.
You make the decision. You just go. And I love the breakdown of the Latin root of the word decision. It's decadere, which means to kill off all other choices.
Wow.
So
I did not know that.
Nothing else exists but this path.
Wow.
It's not
that's cool as heck.
It's the removal of
gosh. Options. Wow.
So you just decide. You kill off everything else. You're like, this is who I am.
Wow.
This is who I'm going to become. And that's why you're still here. That's why
that's powerful.
You're not just here. You're a bundle of joy. You light up the room. You do. Everybody, this is going to be super uncomfortable to hear. Everybody talks about it. When you leave the room, they're like, she's fucking awesome. Do you see this lady? You are.
So sweet. Thank you
and
so
it's
much.
so amazing to see and to feel the pain that you've experienced. And it heartens me deeply just to know that life doesn't end at catastrophe.
Right.
It ends when you give up. And you can keep going no matter what.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. One foot in front of the other.
Yeah. Awesome.
Keep
well,
on
Rosie,
going.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Thank you for sitting down.
You're great.
Thanks for dealing with us, setting up all these lights and running around and being neurotic. And
it's fantastic. I loved it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the opportunity.
I just really hope that we can get this out to the world. We're going to do everything that we can with the second
Right.
piece that we're going to shoot around, kind of capturing visually what this looks like for you. And we're going to do everything that we can to support you, even through the 100 races as well.
Awesome.
We're banding together. Tyler's even more fucking motivated. We're going to talk to him next about this. But you've lit a fire in us you've called us forward into our greater good. And we are uniting behind this. And it goes beyond you, and it goes beyond this Blackbeard's Revenge. It's really the beginning of something huge. And you've been that spark for us. So I genuinely, not just saying like, thanks for being on the podcast.
Right.
Like, thank you for who you
Awesome.
are. It means something, and the waves you've made in this world matter. So
That's awesome.
we're deeply
because
indebted
we
to you.
need more like young, excited, successful young men who can reach out to
Like-
their friends.
like now.
And be now.
Right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right now.
So that's fantastic.
So let's fucking go.
All right.
All right, Rosie.
man.
I hope you have a good race. We'll be out there. I
Thank
guess I got
you,
roped into
yeah.
being a fucking pacer,
Yeah, I
so
guess
I'm going to
you're a
run with
barefoot
you
pacer.
at barefoot pacer at 3 a.m.
Awesome,
Something like that. So we'll
awesome.
see you out there.
You might get hooked. You might. I'm serious.
Maybe I will.
Like,
I'll drop like
there's
20
just
pounds and
something
I'm going to get into my Ethiopian heritage and get them like
Seriously.
game.
There's just something so cool.
Come back. I'll run 100 miles. You're inspiring me.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I'm telling you, when you get out and you've gone 60 miles and you're out under the starlight and you're all alone and out of nowhere, you suddenly have a burst of energy and you can go like a 15-minute mile, instead of an 18-minute mile, which is super slow, but it feels like fast to you.
Nah,
and you're
what
just
you're
like,
weaving, yeah.
This is amazing. Oh my gosh, I feel so good. And you got like the right tunes on and like you wouldn't change it for the world. It's those like moments of, wow, I'm doing it. It's cool as heck.
Cam and I
It's
watched a bunch of running documentaries on the way out here. Had like a 7-hour drive. The whole time I was like, fuck this.
Oh yeah.
No way. Talking to you now, I'm like, well,
Maybe.
yeah, we could, we start, dude, we're going to be running when we get back home for sure. So we'll see.
She can do it. We can do it.
We'll
right?
see you at 200.
That's the truth. All
Right?
right. Sounds good. Yeah. Sounds
Awesome.
good.
Thank you,
All right, guys.
Rosie.
Sure
Thank you.
thing.
And let's get to
Absolutely.
fucking bed, huh?
Cool.
Get some rest.